Hello Lightworkers. I wanted to create this video to talk about procrastination, preparation and planning. These are all areas which I find are really interlinked, and for me I've always had an issue around getting disciplined with my work, and largely I find this is to do with anyone who's entrepreneurial, self-employed essentially, right? Because you're in charge of your own responsibilities. You're your own boss. You decide when you go to work, when you work, how you work. And whilst this is a beautiful thing, and a lot of us love this, for me it was the greatest thing because I always wanted to kind of manage myself and look after myself. The biggest issue comes in of believing that we are doing the work, but actually spending most of our time, perhaps up to 90% of our time, in a very procrastinative way, in a distractive way, and sabotage way. And I've done this throughout my journey, and it's taken me a lot of free will, should we say, to really get into creating a discipline for myself. And so this is one of the reasons which I've created the bootcamp for my Lightworker program, because in a high intensity place, it's like going to work. You're in an environment where you have to do things, and so you get things done because of that. When you go to work 9 to 5 every day in an office, you have to wake up and go to work or you get fired, right? So you end up going there and you end up understanding that that's how you get your paycheck in, because this is a business as well. We've got to remember this is a business. What we're doing with our light work is business. So in a business level, how do you get your business done? How do you create a business? You ensure that the responsibilities are taken care of. And this is where it's really important to understand what's required of you, what's necessary from you to carry out the work and get the goals that you need to accomplish. In other words, how do you get your paycheck in? Okay, so a lot of this comes down to committing and ensuring that you are practically preparing. First of all, there's so much around preparation. Preparation means that we start to prepare for something and take the time to do it. And it's not going to be joyful. This is one of the problems that I find, because we feel that everything should be joyful on this spiritual path, or when we do our light work. When we do that, it could get into dangerous territory, because we ignore all of the very necessary grounded things that are probably not joyful, which are the practical things, which are planning, which are preparation, which are grounded things. And those are the things which are going to earn us money. Those are the things which anchor your incredible light work into the ground, into this planet, and make sure that it's happening. So how do you do this? And one of the first things I would say is that remember that your work and your play or your life needs to be separated. There needs to be a separation of that, so you can focus on the work that you have to do. And whether this means that if you're having this problem in a big way, then perhaps I'd recommend to take your work away from home and start to work in a different environment and see how you do. Whether it's working in a cafe or working in a library or wherever you're working, because there needs to be an understanding where you're starting to treat your work as sacred, essentially, because you're starting to separate it, and then you become free of the distractions. You become in an environment where you're forced to actually do things and carry out the things that you have to do. Here you'll begin to realize that you will accomplish things in a couple of hours that will probably take you weeks. The second thing, of course, in fact this probably is the first thing to do, is to plan what it is that you have to carry out. And there are lots of planners out there. There's a great one called Panda Planner, and that's I think only available in the US, but there's other planners out there which you can actually start to plan what it is that you have to do today, what projects that you have to carry out over the week, over the month, and start to plan and prepare and become more goal orientated. Because this is the thing, goal orientation has got this negative consequence, or connotation around it, yet it's an incredibly important thing, because without the goal you don't work towards it. Without the goal you don't know what you need to do to get there, and you don't create the discipline in order to carry out the goal. The goal is what's going to be earning you money. The goal is what's going to be bringing you in your fulfillment, your abundance. The goal is what's going to be allowing your audience to receive your message. So the goals are really important, and essentially it's coming down to how you are responsible in managing your time. So for me, it's quite simple. When I go into that environment, when I shift myself out of that environment, I start to accomplish way more. It's literally that simple. It doesn't need to be a big thing. You can go into a much deeper way of how you become more grounded and practical into that, of course. Yeah, here I'm really talking about how do you get out of that state of a more procrastinative energy. And the other thing is around planning. So when we're planning, okay, when we're preparing, it's like when we have a workshop, when we were discussing this the other day, when we plan and prepare for a workshop, it's incredible the amount of energy that grounds with that. When you're planning and preparing for something, and you're taking the time to do that, you're allowing yourself to anchor a frequency. And for a lot of light workers, there's an incredible connection with the creative upper realms, and that downloads with imagination. Yet there's usually a lot of problems with grounding it into a more practical way, with preparation, with planning, and this leads to procrastination. These are all the P's are coming in for some reason, but it leads to all of that that problem with creating a lot of distraction and a lot of fatigue comes from it, because so much energy has been expended in the wrong areas, in lots of areas which is just draining and taking a lot of energy, rather than doing high impact work, which you can do. In fact, it's not even high impact work, it's normal work, but it probably will feel like high impact work from that very easygoing lifestyle that's probably been created. That easygoing lifestyle is full of stress underneath the surface, because things aren't being experienced in the way that you'd like it. Things aren't being fulfilled in the way that you like it. You aren't receiving the abundance in the way that you desire. So I just wanted to share this, because in order to embody, this is what you're doing, you're embodying your light work. Really recommend just looking at how you're working and what your environment is. Shift your environment first. Shift the environment in where you're working, and then start to see what it is that you're doing. Now, of course, if your work involves healing and your work involves working with people, you're in that particular environment for that particular work. I'm talking about all of the other work around it, where you're sitting in front of your laptop. You know, a lot of us are using our laptop to create the portal for the work that we have, whether it's through your website, whether it's through your business, marketing, interacting with people, mailing lists, all of this, you know, that you're creating. So explore that and know that it doesn't matter how ungrounded you may have found yourself to be or see yourself as, you can always find a structure. And structure is really, 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 really important when we're doing our light work, because this is the only way that it can literally come into the earth. We are creating the structure for it. So I will see you in the next video, and happy light working. To get in touch with me, please visit www.𝗟𝗏𝗵𝗏𝗏.com and discover more about my signature program for Lightworkers, to change your life, to step up to your soul destiny, to embrace what you've come here to be. Also, are free meditations and transmissions, which are a pivotal part of how I work, working with spirit to carry out spirit's work on this planet. Namaste.